from Institute of Tourism Studies, Lucknow. He uses his creative skills for helping people experience the beauty of places and communities that surround them via his love for photography and video logging. Mentors his team to do better, has trained specially able people and groomed them to be a part of virtual sales centers. We are indeed elated to welcome you, Sounder.
Thank you, Abita. Thank you so much for this lovely introduction. I'll try to see. Okay. Can you guys see?
It's my privilege to welcome our Secretary, Sir, Madam Correspondent, Principal Madam, Vice Principal Madam, staff and students of Mahatma Gandhi Centenary Vidyalaya. Over to you, Sounder.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Abita, and thank you, Aditya. I have a simple, humble request. Everybody can mute their mics just to avoid disturbance because it will be great. So we are going to have a 1 hour session, and I'll make sure that it is like a T20 match, quick and to the point. Yeah. So before we get on to the presentation, I would want everyone to kind of, also open their cameras if possible, because we are virtually meeting. I'm sure all the school students also are meeting after a long time, or this session happens once in a while. So I would request if everybody can open their camera before we start this session, just to do a 1 minute activity. I can see around 185 to 100 people. Yeah. And we have, okay. So one by one, if you can just turn on your camera just for
switch on your cameras, students.
Please. At least students, yeah. So that we can switch on the camera. Yeah. So student can switch on the camera. I'll take 2 minutes just to see if everyone has switched on the camera, and everybody is having the gallery view where everybody can see everybody else, right? You can probably sit at one place, keep your mobile in front of you, stagnant in any of the book, or so that you can clearly be visible. Yeah. Great, wonderful. I can see many. I'll tell you the reason, because you'll also be happy by seeing what we are going to do with this camera open. First of all, you're able to see each other, right? On your left, right, in a gallery, you are able to see each other, right? If you're in the same class or if you're in the same section, but most of you can see each other in this gallery view, I'm hoping. So what we're going to do is that, since it's a virtual time, it's COVID and nobody is able to meet each other, so we will start this program with a virtual high five. Yeah. So you can just raise your hands and give a high five to your fellow students nearby, whoever you can see. I can see many people. Yeah. Virtual high five. Yes. Great. Excellent. So I always start with this virtual high five. The reason being, we are stuck at home. We are doing all our best of studying, and in this session, I want it to be an interactive session. So anything which we say about tourism, if one slide is over, we'll do a big thumbs up like this. Yeah. Anybody? Yeah. Whatever the activity we do. So we will start with this big thumbs up to the school, which is arranging such wonderful session for you guys, because being a student, I didn't have this privilege. In spite of being in 20 years of tourism, I didn't have the privilege where my school arranged such activity. So a big thumbs up to your school. Can we have a big thumbs up in front of camera to your school? Yeah, great. And we will also say few shortcut words, so that I want it to be an interactive session. Otherwise, it will be a one-sided lecture, right? So whenever you want me to start the second topic or slide, you will write BIO, which is bring it on. Okay. In the chat box, you will write BIO, which means bring it on. Okay. On that note, we will start the presentation. Thank you so much for keeping your video on, and I hope to make it as interactive as possible and clear all your doubts also in the last 10 minutes and 15 minutes, where Aditya and me will conduct Q&A, because I'm sure most of you have lots of doubts and confusion regarding tourism. And I would request once again, if you can mute yourself so that everybody can hear correctly whatever we are going to say, because we have 1 hour with us. Yeah. Aditya, if you can give me a host right to share the screen, please.
Yes, absolutely. Just 1 second. Done. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's working. Okay, great. Just a second. Let me try and see. Okay. Everybody can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can write in the chat box BIO, which is bring it on, right? BIO. Should we start the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. Excellent. So as you know that this presentation is about tourism and this workshop is about tourism, and I have spent about 18 years of professional career, which is working for different companies. And I have started my own company, a holiday company called HiQ Holidays in the last 2 years. So I have 18 years of professional experience and 2 years of entrepreneur experience. So just to brief you what we are going to see. Can you see the screen of workshop outline? So I'll tell you what we are going to have in this next 45 minutes. I'm going to just introduce about myself in brief about my professional career. We're going to discuss about tourism evolution of industry in India. And we're going to also see about general trends in tourism sector. And I'm going to tell you what skills, needs, and what are the best universities which are available around India. And also what kind of digitalization required in tourism skills. Tourism, there are a lot of myths. When I started my tourism career also, there were a lot of myths about tourism and hospitality industry. And I'm going to break some myths about tourism and hospitality industry also today. So before delaying anything, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Saundar Rajan. I was born in Madurai and I moved to Delhi when I was 5th standard, and I studied in a Tamil school called DTEA school, which has 7 schools in Delhi. And I studied till 12th in that school, and I completed tourism as a subject in bachelor's from Venkateshwara College in Delhi, which is run by Tirupati Devasthanam, of Tirupati Devasthanam. So it's one of the top colleges running the tourism industry. Bhavna, if you can mute yourself, please. Anybody who's joining, automatically please mute so that others are not disturbed. So after finishing, graduation, I started immediately working in a travel agency called Southern Travels, and along with that, I completed an MBA. I also completed an MBA. So just to talk about my professional highlights, when I was at the beginning of my career. When I was learning as an intern, I traveled to Delhi to Agra for the last consecutive 30 days. There were a lot of people from South who used to come to Delhi, and I was the fewer one who speaks fluent Tamil also. So the company sent me Delhi to Agra, which is basically 6 a.m. Leaving from Delhi, finishing the sightseeing and coming back at 10:30. So I learned a lot during that 30 days from various people like tour guides, drivers and helpers, everybody. Yeah, so that was one of the learning phase of my life where I traveled 30. So I used to have only 2 hours of sleep, because 6 o'clock, if you have to leave for Agra, it means that you need to get ready by 4 o'clock. Yeah, that means when you come back at 1 o'clock, you have a 2 hour sleep, get ready, and then again leave. And then I traveled for an all India trip for about 45 days, pan India, which is taking 25 United States professors along with me. They went on pan India by learning the education system about India. That was one of the highlights in early stage of my career I completed. Then I was the youngest. Around 26 years I was when I handled a movement of 3,000 people in Hyderabad, which is basically kind of for a corporate. And that was the career-changing phase for me back in 2007. And I was the youngest vice president of my company, and I believe that I've been told that in the tourism industry also, I was the youngest vice president. So this was about me. Now, as Abhita told that after leaving professional career as a vice president, one by one during this COVID, we started I started my mission in October 2019. And during this COVID, these are the companies which I established, including a holiday company called HiQ Holidays. and we do a lot of corporate movement under HiQ Mice, and we do a lot of franchisee, which is Tier 2, Tier 3 franchisee stores under Holiday Shop. So these are my companies which I run. So thank you so much for giving me time to introduce myself. Yeah, and without any delay, let us go to the segment of tourism, and I will start with tourism evolution of in India. So back in 1990, before 1990, the tourism as such was not segmented, or it was not categorized as an industry. The first national tourism policy was announced in 1982, and the government formulated a comprehensive plan in 1988 as a sector or an industry to promote tourism. Now, by 1990 and 2000, a lot of state tourism also contributed, and they also declared tourism as an industry in their respective states. And the government stressed on private-public partnership in the sector. A lot of, because earlier the Oberoi's and Taj and all these hotel industry was there. In 1990 and 2000, a lot of new travel in hotel segment groups came in, because the government allowed the private-public partnership in the tourism sector. In 2000 and 2005, the National Policy on Tourism was announced, and which includes the robust infrastructure, because we were purely dependent on the tourism monuments like Taj Mahal or the Meenakshi Amman temple. Either it has to be temple, or it had to be a structure which is like Taj Mahal. But apart from that, the government was also stressed upon developing a lot of new projects, and the online revolution also started, because a lot of online portals came in, and low cost airlines. I don't know how many of you are known that there was an airline which was launched called Air Deccan for ₹1 airline. Most of you must have been born at that point of time. Air Deccan, so the Air Deccan was appointed, and low-cost carrier where a common man can also travel. That perception came in from 2000 to 2005. And then 2015 onwards, a revolution happened, that government has taken a lot of initiatives, and getting the foreigners and also domestic tourism, getting Tier 2, Tier 3 people like Lucknow or Trichy or Madurai, for them also to travel within India, whether it is Kashmir or Ladakh. Things started happening, and e-tourist visa, which is basically a physical visa which was required through embassy, was changed to e-visa. So that was a revolution, that a lot of foreigners came into India through e-visa model, and where it was negligible. From there, the tourism contributes 8% of the India's GDP through their aviation, hotel, and travel industry. It has become such an important industry for India as a country, that they are starting to develop and enhance the tourism, funding it back in tourism. They are putting budgets so that the tourism increases and a lot of people go. And probably what has happened is, in this 2 years, because of the COVID, a lot of tourism spots are over. But we are believing, as a tourism industry experts, that post-COVID, there is going to be a boom in tourism, because a lot of people are waiting, like including you. Everybody is waiting to travel, right? Whether it is going to abroad or whether it is going within India. First travel will happen within India only. People will love to go to Kashmir, Ladakh, or Rajasthan, or Himachal. There is so much to see in India. So that boom is what government is expecting, and they will for sure involve and invest in a lot of products. Yeah. So how many of you feel that tourism industry is an important industry? You can write it in chat box. Awesome. With a double thumbs up, you can write awesome in the chat box if you feel the tourism industry is awesome. Very good. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you. So going forward, apart from that, I will just segregate and tell you what is tourism. Because tourism, in you travel for your holiday, I'm sure most of you have gone on your holiday, right? When you travel, what happens? You go on an airline, you stay in a hotel, you roam around in the car. These are the 3 important services you use, right? So that's how the tourism and hospitality sector is also divided. One is accommodation. Accommodation is basically the kind of hotels you use. It can be a 5-star hotel to a one-star hotel. Whatever the kind of hotel industry we have, it all categorized into hospitality sector. Hospitality sector means from the one star to the resort or a camp also is all categorized in accommodation, and accommodation plays a very important role in tourism because that's where you go and stay. So any destination which has to boom, it has to have good hotels. Otherwise, people will not go and stay there. After accommodation, the main industry is transportation. Once you go at the airport or station, what comes to receive you? The car, right? The car which comes to receive you is managed by a transportation department, which is local or private. Even government has transportation departments, which is like ITDC or HTDC. Every state has a tourism development corporation, which is transport, state-run tourisms, or it also has transportation, which is basically a car or even to an extent of charter flights. Everything comes to a transportation where you go from one place to another place, whatever transports you. The third comes the attraction. Attraction means sightseeing places. For example, if you go to Agra, then you have Taj Mahal, you have Agra Fort, you have Fatehpur Sikri. These are the attractions which combines the places. So any place you go, you will have to have attractions. But that attraction can be a monument attraction or a temple attraction. Any attraction it all comes into travel, the attractions. Now, the main part comes in, which is basically organizing everything. You cannot do everything on your own, right? There comes a segment where we have a travel agents. Travel agents means picking up the correct hotel, picking up the correct transport, picking up the correct airline, and combining everything to you is done by travel agents who are organizing everything for you or for your holiday. That's where the main 80% of the manpower comes in, where they are able to learn and also book packages for the clients for their holiday. The fifth segment is tour operators. Tour operators means if you go to a destination, local destination, travel agent sitting in Trichy, for example, books your holiday. Okay, he's sitting in Trichy. He needs to have a partner who's in Agra, who will take you, pick you, and roam around in Agra, show you the sightseeing, show you the monuments, book a tour guide. They are called tour operators. So a travel agent who's local books a pan-India, anywhere in holiday, and these tour operators is where they handle these holidays in their respective states. These are the only 5 segments which are there in tourism and hospitality, where people are working, whether it is a hotel, airline, transport, travel agency, and tour operators. These are the only 5 segments where everybody is working, right? And then I'll tell you, a lot of people, I have been selling India as a destination for the last 18 years and still selling. In the last 1 year only, I started selling outbound destinations like Europe or Iceland, anything which is outside India. But all my career, I have been selling only and only India as a destination. Now, there are advantages of India as a destination, and when you're doing a tourism, courses, you need to understand your advantage of the country also, right? So India offers a geographical diversity and attractive beaches and 30 World Heritage sites and 20 biogeographical zones. India is the only place which is so diversified that if you land in a country, apart, being one country, if you go on any other country, there will be a common, language or common kind of, I would say, climate. But India is something where you land in Jammu and come to Kanyakumari, you can see a diversified, kind of places, climate. That's what we proudly sell also for outside India, for people to come in, and within India, people to also travel. Now, the country's biggest coastline is dotted in several attractive beaches, right from your Pondicherry to your upper northern, side. All the entire country is divided with the coastal, line. And also the Ministry of Tourism is providing some Buddhist sector also. If you go to Patna side, or if you go to Nepal border, there are a lot of Buddhist circuit and a lot of people from other countries also to come and visit these circuits, for you. And then I'm talking about post-COVID, which is 2021, 2022. There's going to be a huge demand, because India is known for medical tourism also, because, a lot of people come for treatment on the places like Kerala, Karnataka, or even up north in Rishikesh. People come from outside, and within the state also people travel for medical tourism. So it's expected to reach 9 billion USD, within this industry, medical industry is going to be. And apart from that, approximately 10.89 million tourists from foreign countries arrived in India, and it's going to be growing only because there are a lot of things to see in India. So 10.89 million tourists from foreign visited in India. So the more foreigners are visiting India, it means the more manpower is required to handle them. That's what the opportunity which is going to come also. And Mr. Modi also urged that post-COVID, when you're traveling, then you need to travel at least 15 domestic destinations within India as part of the family holiday. Even the government offices and everybody is being told that travel within India, and then you will be able to see outside the India. So there's going to be a lot of boom India as a destination. Also, the government has a lot of policies also supporting, the India tourism, because campaigns such as Swadesh Darshan, a theme-based tool sector, was launched, and always every tourism monuments, or if it is a temple, cleanliness is something which government is very, very highly promoting, that every place in India should be clean, neat, and they should really focus on having a clean states. And then it has an attractive opportunity also as a young India, because if after 5 years, whatever the demand has been created now, it will be helpful for people who are coming after 5 years and who are putting tourism as a career. So there are a lot of opportunities in corporate MICE, which is basically huge corporate, like HSCC Hyderabad. All these places are built so that a lot of people can come and do their corporate movements. And also the government is providing a lot of small and medium enterprises loan. Like, people from smaller towns are also becoming travel agencies, running their own travel agencies, and it is helping with their, various schemes and loans also. So these are some of the, kind of advantage India has as a tourism. Next, going forward, this is very important because a lot of people think that tourism and hospitality is limited to only a specific industry. Tourism is gone beyond only with holiday. A lot of people has to realize that a person like I have, as a travel agent, I used to do rural tourism trips for students to go and learn in villages that what kind of facilities they have. So rural tourism is going to increase a lot, where a town, metros like Delhi, or to an extent Bombay or South in Chennai, Hyderabad, will be taking students or anybody, corporates from the city to the villages to learn about villages. So that's promoting a high, and forget about the foreigners who are going to come. They are also going to come and learn about the rural tourism. So the aim is that a lot of villages and equipments which are used in villages are developed so that the students or the corporates can come and learn about. The second important, which is the highlight for tourism, is pilgrim tourism, because India has millions of temples, and one temple from north is very different from one temple in south. So there is a huge potential of pilgrim tourism also, where different religious hubs are being promoted as temples or temple spots. Like as we speak, there is a huge ISKCON temple which is going to be developed in Kurukshetra for 5,000 crore project. I think by 2025 they will finish it. So that's an opportunity or a new destination which is developed as as a pilgrim tourist site apart from the routine. The other one is the ecotourism, because everybody has come to a term that going sustainable or going green is the way forward. We have to have a waste management. We have to have something which is close to nature. So we do a lot of homestays, or we do a lot of sustainable tourism trips, for everybody to go and stay as near as to nature, because India has a lot of flora and fauna available, and which is very different. That a destination, to give an example, that in Kerala there is a district called Tennamala. You can Google it. That is the first planted ecotourism site in India, and such sites are developed across India, showcasing different segments of ecotourism. And my favorite segment, which is next, is the adventure tourism, because adventure tourism is something where high-end equipments are being imported, from abroad, to have a high-quality adventure tourism, like the trekking or bungee jumping or mountain biking. Ladakh is one of the destination which is very, very famous for adventure tourism. Right, you have supercars, bike races happening in Ladakh. So post-COVID, this destination is going to boom, where everybody, the millennials, which is the young India, is preferring to travel on an adventure, and there is a huge segment which is basically developing, and there are courses which are related to mountaineering and bungee jumping and river crossing. If you want to focus adventure, there are a lot of mountaineering colleges which are being developed, which is teaching adventure as a course. The next one, as I told you before also, the medical tourism. Lot of treatments are going on India, and they are going to structure in such a way that people within India or coming from abroad, the people are going to come under medical tourism, where they come, stay, and cure their specialized Ayurvedic treatments or spa treatments, whether it is prana healing or whatever the different segments are there under medical tourism. They are going to develop, and they are going to have a structured medical tourism, where you can probably come stay for 15 to 20 days and learn about and have a good treatment done, and a cost-effective treatment. Anything which you go abroad also and learn, as trying to cure yourself, the India, it can happen in 1/10 cost. That's the USP, because I have traveled to London 6 times, and we go and present ourselves in World Tourism Mart, which happens once in a year, where medical tourism is the highlight, where every country from Iran to the UK to US, everybody comes, and their only question is that, okay, what is the Ayurvedic treatment we can have and cure ourselves, because they believe that Ayurveda has a solution to everything. So we as Indians also have started realizing it. So everybody from north are going to Kerala or Karnataka to do the treatment done. A lot of knee problems or headaches, a lot of other treatments are happening. So medical tourism is something which is going to boom. And next is heritage tourism, because India has a lot of monuments which are kind of safeguarded by UNESCO, and they are a range of monuments across the culture. It's not only temples, there are mosques, there are churches. So everything is kind of heritage which is old. It all has been collated, and they are trying to brand in such a way that and India has a rich heritage, right? Every heritage is different from other. The eastern part of Kolkata, if you go, the streets in Kolkata as old as you have a heritage walk going on, and there are a lot of tour guides who can speak for 4 or 5 hours. I have spent time with them. In the morning, 6 o'clock, the heritage walk starts, and till 10:30, they only brief you about every street, which has a specific story in older days, because Kolkata has a very rich heritage. So everything comes under heritage tourism. And in India, there are a lot of unexplored heritage sites also, which is to be still developed. So it's a very rich subject. If you're interested in history as a subject, then this heritage tourism is the way forward, because it teaches you a lot of old history. And the last one is luxury tourism. India was never a luxury destination, right? India was a destination which is promoting their culture. But recently, for the last 10 years, India has developed 780 five-star hotels, which has more than 100 rooms. So luxury is something which is expected to grow at a very, very high rate, and people are coming in charters, charter flights landing in India, and they will travel around within India. And there are hotels which is costing about 1 lakh rupees a day also in India, where we have sold, or I have personally stayed also in such hotels. So luxury tourism is something which is basically very, very emerging. So these are the kind of I would say 7 emerging segments which you should focus. And if you want to focus, because tourism is very vast subject to learn, right? You need to have a specific learning, because if you try to learn everything, then you'll go nowhere. So you need to put your niche, that okay, what is that I like about this? What is the segment which I like? Then the second phase is that, okay, what do you want? What I could do with this segment? Can I sell? If I'm good in communication, if I'm good, confident in speaking, then I can probably go for, the front end sales. If I'm good in writing, if I can write very well, if I can make itineraries, then I can go with the back end contracting or product making. So though second phase is the segment of your career, but first is you need to identify which are the segment I'm comfortable with. Because it's all going to be picking your niche. If you're comfortable, or if you're clear with your niche, then you can go forward and pick your segment accordingly. So this is basically the emerging tourism, and also as I mentioned before, also there are a lot of trends which are emerging also in tourism industry. Just to brief you that your generation has seen the online app booking, right? You can probably sit in a mobile phone and book ticket. In our phase, there used to be physical ticket. You have to write the name and go and deliver the physical paper copy to the client. I have done it, as a trainee, that you need to physically go and deliver the ticket, then only probably that person can travel. There is no e-ticket, or there is no, so now 70% of the tickets, whether it is within India or abroad, happens online. That's basically a way forward. It will happen to 90-95% also, where everybody can probably book their tickets through mobile itself. And then there are a lot of big companies which are opening their branches in smaller cities, smaller villages also. They are trying to build a satellite shops where a village also can book through their travel tickets or anything from the nearest village they can. So 5 villages will have 1 satellite shops. And then because of this COVID, there is a new term which has come called staycations. Staycations means you're working in a corporate, you're working in a company, and you need to have a peaceful place with the Wi-Fi where you can sit and work, right? So those hotels or those palace, the homestays are called staycations, where a corporate employee can go and stay for 15 days with the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, maybe pay 3,000, 5,000 a day, and spend and work. Hello. Work from there and learn about the work close to the nature. That's what they stress upon. And an important segment which will also develop is the cruise segment. How many of you, I don't know, have traveled in cruises? Because India, the cruise industry is emerging. Cruise is basically a ship where everything from... Can you guys mute yourself if you can, please? Because it's disturbing maybe others. Okay. So probably cruise industry is something which India is banging on, because there are a lot of cruises which has come to India and traveling to coastal airlines like Goa, Konkan area, and even to an extent of Andaman Nicobar. So by 2030, there may be approximately 1.2 million visitors who may travel within cruises. Now, what happens in cruise? When you have a cruise, it has a capacity of 2,500 people going and staying. Okay, and if you stay, then normally a cruise has approximately 7 restaurants, different restaurants where you can have food, and there are about 500 to 600 rooms where you can stay. And anybody who works in cruise can travel around the world because it is back-to-back travel within the country and outside the country also. So there are cruise liners like Jalesh Cruises, which has started in April 2019. Because of COVID, they have stopped. But there are going to be a huge, luxury cruises which are going to come in a very affordable prices, which is approximately 15 to 20,000 maybe per person. You can travel for 3 nights, 4 days. Yeah. And the other segment which is going to develop is camping. How many of you have gone to Rishikesh or those Uttarakhand side where you can stay? You have stayed in the camps near to the river, in rafting, done a rafting or anywhere. Although it happens in Ooty also, but camping is very famous in Uttarakhand because it has a lot of very good, facilities where you can stay near to the river. And it can have, you can do adventure activities also. And I had a privilege of staying in Pangong Lake in Ladakh, and there is a stargazing which happens, when you're staying in tent. And in the night, if you just sleep in your tent and see, there will be millions of stars, and if you're lucky, then you can see the stargazing happening in front of you itself. So camping is something where a lot of private players are funding to develop luxury camps as high as 50,000 to 60,000, camps around India. Oh, excellent. Pangong, Nubra and Pangong Lake is very, very famous for camping. And coming back to the, adventure, last 5 years before, there was a community which was built to promote adventure. There's a first time, like IATA. IATA is basically a travel agent association, which basically has a community of people who are authorized to issue tickets, and they are authorized agent. Likewise, the adventure also, the government had initiated an association which will create this environment of adventure, and create the environment where adventure within India can be developed. So that is why I keep on saying that, for the young India, for the people who are coming in this generation, adventure is something where it's going to grow at 100x. Like if people are traveling, for 100 people are traveling, there are 10,000 people who are going to travel in adventure. So if you are a person who is very, very close to adventure, and if you want adventure as a passion, then you can take it up, because that's the way forward. The government is focusing on people who can learn adventure and grow, a career out of adventure. Now you'll be happy to know that out of 5 important states which provides the highest number of tourists, 3 are from South. I proudly always say, whenever we have the internal discussion, that out of 5 important tourist visits within India or outside, the 3 states are South Indian states, which is Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh, which are very rich in heritage, because pilgrim is still the number one, segment, because of people traveling within the country. Yeah, so lot of people travel within the city, or people from outside also, they travel outside also for the pilgrim side. So I always feel that going forward, Tamil Nadu as a destination also, they are developing a lot of new temples for people to visit. And Andhra Pradesh, everybody knows that the number of tourists come there is purely because of one place. The entire Andhra Pradesh tourism or a segment gets numbered. Can you guys guess which is the place where in Andhra Pradesh, because of people visit in Andhra Pradesh, which is that one site or one tourism temple? I'll give you a hint also of temple.
Tirupati, sir. Tirupati.
Yes, great.
Tirupati.
Very nice. So one place, imagine if one place, in one state can bring 194.76, million domestic people, then India as a destination, which is developing, can bring how many millions of people if it is promoted rightly, and if it is, I would say, not only foreigners, but within India also. In my, project back in 2009, I did a project where we went to 100 schools of crisscross, right? Because a person or a student studying in Tamil Nadu, for example, in your school, for them, Maharashtra means Bombay, right? When I say Maharashtra, people say, okay, Maharashtra means it's in Bombay. And Bombay means people think Bollywood. Okay, Shah Rukh Khan's home is there, Salman Khan's home is there. So everybody link Maharashtra to Bombay and Bombay to Bollywood. But that perception had to be broken because Maharashtra was beyond Bollywood, right? Because Maharashtra has a segment called Dabbawalas. I don't know how many of you have heard this word called Dabbawala. Dabbawala is a community where their working style was mentioned in Oxford University and Harvard University as one of the project or paperwork. Because in Bombay, it's a busy life, right? One person who's working, he travels to 2 hours to reach office. Okay. Now, during the travel, he leaves at home at 6 o'clock or 6:30 to catch a local train. To catch a local train and to reach office, so the food cannot be made. So this Dabbawala, what they do is they reach point A, which is a person's home. They carry the food and they reach. They kind of the food dabba or tiffin reaches the office hours at 1:30. Now the best part is this dabba reaches point A from point B, changing 7 different hands. And right now, till now, 99.99% they developed at a correct office address. So I had an opportunity to meet the president of Dabbawala, and it becomes a tourist site only now that everybody wants to go and see how they work. It's a huge. So we took 100 students from Chennai and took them to Bombay to show the Dabbawalas working, how they are mapping, or what is the color code they are using, what is the because they travel through trains, nothing that they go in a car or something. So it became a tourist spot. So such spots are there where even the students of crisscross states is not aware. That's what the intent should be, that every person should know about India first, know your own country and states which tourist spots is important. So it is very, very important to study beyond the tourism places, that what is that, because tourism is not only because of the monuments or buildings, it's about the culture, it's about the place. That's what the highlight always been, that the specific destination becomes a destination because of the food, culture and people, not only the monuments, right? So I would urge that if you're trying to learn about tourism, you should not only learn about, okay, what is Taj Mahal or what is Qutub Minar, what is Meenakshi Amman temple. Learn about the culture, learn about the food, learn about the people who made that destination or a place, a tourist place. That is very, very important for people to come in. Now, I want to break some myths about tourism, because you've also got introduced to tourism. Somebody told that, okay, we'll do a workshop, and a lot of people have a lot of myths about tourism. So let me break one by one. How many people think that tourism, if you work in tourism, then it ensures a free travel anywhere in the world? How many of you thought? You can write it in the chat box, yes. If you thought that studying tourism means you can travel anywhere you want to, it'll be a license to travel anywhere. How many of you thought? Because I thought when I joined tourism, I thought the reason of doing tourism course is that I can be traveling anywhere in the world I want to. That was my intent of studying tourism. But that's not the case. You need to work towards it. You will be sent. You have an option of traveling, but provided you earn towards that, working towards that destination or anything which you are doing, then only you'll be able to travel. It's not a free license. You need to work for it. Yeah. The jobs in tourism pay only minimum wage, which means that the jobs in tourism entitles to a minimum stipend only throughout, which is basically a myth. It starts from as low as 3,000 rupees to 3 lakh rupees. It depends on your mindset and your growth, what you want to do. But yes, the tourism entry job is basically an internship or a scholarship, which you call, where you need to select your segment of job which you want to do. And then you can grow. As I started my career as a tour guide, and I was a vice president. That was my career growth. So I started as low as 500 rupees and ended up being, in a 7-figure salary. So that's my growth. So that is a wrong myth to have. The third one is that the only job, which requires is a kind of a tourism job. Also, people say that, okay, it's a part-time job. It's not a full-time. You can work part-time also. That's a very, very wrong myth to have, because the tourism job, any segment which you work on, be it a tourism tour guide, or whether you are working in sales, costing, contracting, product, operations, it requires a full-time. It is not a part-time job at all. Okay. And it also, a perception is that it is not only, because a lot of people have this perception that tourism means the first job which I'll get is being a tour guide. Because when I joined tourism, 80% of my family also thought that I'm a tour guide only, but that's not a case. There are a lot of jobs which requires not to face to face, but a back-end job also, where you don't need to interact with any public person, but it's a paperwork which you can handle from back-end also. Okay. The next one is travel and tourism and recreation. Marketing provides only temporary jobs for students, and they can find any, as I told you before also, that they can find any employment related to their career. Tourism is a very, very emerging career. It's a full-time career which everybody can opt, and everybody can follow as a full-time career, and you have a tremendous growth within, as government or private player, as a hotelier or a aviation or a tour operator or travel and tourism. Okay, so that's basically a wrong myth to have. And then advantages of tourism, if I have to talk about, because many have asked that how did you spend your 18 years of professional and now also you are in holiday only, although I have started other segments also. It gives you a variety of experiences, right? You are traveling across, like I have traveled to 157 cities, tourist cities, in my 20 years, and I have traveled to 13 countries, and I have traveled and stayed in as low as hotel with 500 rupees to a suite room of 5 lakh rupees for a night. So that gave me a variety of experiences when you join a tourism industry. It also gives you a purpose of servicing people. Like, when I used to travel, or in my initial days also, there are a lot of chances where you will get to service people. There are a lot of old age people who comes on holiday. You can help them. You can be at service them. You can take blessings of them. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to service people and get blessings. And it also gives you an opportunity to work with other people, because a lot of communications are required, right? A lot of communications are required within the segment of tourism. So you will be able to work with a lot of your co-workers speaking cross language also. Because, if you're working in an agency, you need to speak to somebody who is in Himachal Pradesh in Hindi. So you will by default, by tuta puta, you learn Hindi. You learn, like I learned Marathi, Hindi, even to an extent of bit of Telugu, Kannada, because I could travel, because to speak to the drivers or tour guides, anybody who's local, you need to learn the language. And then you have a potential of advanced. I give my example as example to everyone, that if I have grown from a tour manager to a vice president of the company, then there is a potential to advance. You cannot restrict yourself as only a person who will be stagnant to their career. There is an immense potential to the advancement. And then you have an opportunity also. Like, lot of opportunity knocks your door. I always believe that you should take the opportunity in your hand, whatever comes to you. So there are a lot of opportunities which will come for you to travel to abroad. Like for me, traveling to London was my dream, which came in 2011, where I traveled to London for the first time. And since then I have been traveling 6 times, because I proved that traveling there was worth to my company. So that is why they sent me every year for the last 6 consecutive years. Apart from that, you have a easy access. Like, if you apply online to any tourism related job, you will for sure, internship is very easy to get. it depends on you that how you manage to get that, a kind of a entry level to a higher level. Because there are a lot of universities, which is Garhwal University, Lucknow University, and even universities in what do you call it, Himachal Pradesh, giving exclusively 3 years and 5 years tourism courses. After that, you will get directly in our company also. We recruit 20 people every year as a part of interns, and we see how they are good. And from there, 5 people are selected for a payroll. So you get a very, very easy entry level positions in tourism industry. And then you have to get trained from various resources. Like I mentioned, that in tourism and hospitality, there is a hotel industry, there is an aviation industry, there is a travel industry. So you need to pick your area and then train yourself to be the expert, so that you can learn that kind of segment, and you can grow on that. And also, this is a very important advantage. Many people say that in hotel or travel industry, you get to have a lot of incentives and tips over and above what you earn. When you travel abroad or when you work in a hotel, there are a lot of incentives which are given in the tourism industry to enhance the performance. So that is something which is basically can help an entry level person. And my favorite is that it gives you an opportunity to be creative, because in tourism, you need to have a creativity, because the segment has now moved on from being a serious tourism professional to a blogger also, right? You need to have creativity when you need to have kind of, grow in your travel phase. Or if you're working also, you need to excel in Microsoft presentation, Excel, Word, and these are the segments you need to learn and be creative also. So I get a lot of opportunity to be creative. So you have to learn to be creative, but it gives you an opportunity also. So I conclude my presentation with saying that tourism is not easy. Anybody who thinks that tourism is not easy is having a myth, because tourism is not something which is very easy. It requires a lot of hard work, but every minute you spend to learn tourism is worth it. That's what I want to conclude with. I hope you guys had some bulb-on moment regarding to tourism for the last, I think we spoke about for about an hour. Thank you so much for the time, Abhita and Aditya, for giving me an opportunity to talk about tourism. I hope your students got kind of, some idea. Yeah. So once again, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soundar. It was a fantastic session. Actually, I found it to be one of the most insightful sessions of all the speaker series sessions we have had so far. It was really engaging, and I'm sure the students had a blast interacting with you. So with this, I'd probably open it up for questions from the students. Please. So guys, maybe we can have the questions being typed out, and then you can, we can paraphrase it to the speaker, or if you want to speak, just do mention it. Yeah?
Please. Just mention your name whenever you're asking something. Yeah.
Come on, students. Let's open it up for questions. Any doubts, any questions about how you can prepare your lead to a career trajectory like this, or any other questions?
So Sai Deepa is asking, what are the best colleges to practice tourism? So basically, there is a best university, if you talk about, there is a university in Garhwal, which is in Uttarakhand, called Garhwal University, which specifically runs about 5 years tourism course. And anybody who wants to do a career in tourism, that's one of the best colleges. And the second best is Aligarh University, which is near to Lucknow. That's having a professional, course for 5 years, and you can learn, have a MBA, masters in tourism from Aligarh. These are the two universities. But apart from that, nowadays, a lot of colleges have started doing vocational tourism also, like how Venkateshwara College had. That's a bachelor degree. basically. So after doing bachelor degree, you need to do a MBA along with that. But if you want to do a full-fledged career in a course in tourism, then you can go for either Garhwal University or Aligarh University. These are the very good colleges to have tourism courses.
Sir, my name is Lasya.
Yes, yeah.
Sir, you said you visited London.
Yeah.
What was your favorite sightseeing, sir? Sightseeing place there?
See, London, apart from sightseeing, I mean, the best place to visit is the palace, Buckingham
What
Palace.
do you love about London, sir?
Weather.
Why it was your dream place to travel?
See, the London is anybody's dream place because the weather is lovely. It gives you the, lovely weather. And then I wanted to visit London to see the play which they do. Like, you must be aware that in London as a city, there are no movie theaters. Okay. There are very less movie theaters in the main city, London. They only have these evening plays. Yeah, evening plays happening. So I stayed for 7 days, and every day evening I used to only go and see plays like Aladdin, because plays means it's virtually it's a state of art plays they have which is for 2 hours, and it's a out of the world experience.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes. Anybody else?
Any further questions, students?
Was I so clear that you don't have any doubts about tourism at all?
Oh, it'll start coming in a volley. It usually starts off as 1 or 2 initially, and then it keeps sliding up.
See, if you guys don't start, I will randomly pick up. First of all, just open your cameras, everyone. Again, let's do this. Everybody. Okay, Saideepa is asking best books that you suggest for tourism. See, there are a lot of books which are available, but I normally prefer a book from Incredible India called Best Version of India. I'll probably share a link with Aditya, because lot of apart from the physical books, there are a lot of ebooks are also available for tourism. So I suggest that probably I'll share some links which you can probably have 2 hours or 3 hours daily. If you read or listen to that, then you'll be able to learn about. Yeah, everybody's okay. Cameras on. Very good. I think I still see people switching off their cameras. It's the end of the session. Yes, switch on, because you know what we are going to do now. Switch on the camera. So,
any more questions?
So somebody asked that who's your role model? My role model is Mahendra Singh Dhoni and Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, my video is clear, right?
Yes.
So Janani is asking what is the most like and least about job, sir. I have nothing which I don't like about job, but what I like about my job is that I get to visit a range of places in my career, and it's a 24/7 job. It's not something that where you can sit idle if you want to. It depends on you. Tourism is something where you can switch off and switch on anytime you want to. It's not only restricted to 9 to 6 job. Correct. So you get to travel. When you travel, there are something which shows on social media. Like I have an Instagram page, and I have traveled everywhere. I click pictures. I have a blog, called Har Sheher Kuch Kehta Hai, which is talking about every city. All that concern, but you need to have that passion to work 24/7 if you want to proceed with tourism as a career. You need to be open. The more you spend time on, the more you will learn. And at any point of time, you can switch off and detach yourself. You don't need to, I always believe that whenever you are working, irrespective of tourism or any other work which you pick as a career, you need to have a switch on and switch off button, right? You should not mix your job or career as a part of tension. Anything which keeps you an urge to make tension about that, it should not be a career. Yeah? So I'm so sorry that I don't like. I mean, I have nothing which I don't like about tourism. Nitya is asking which inspires you to choose tourism. Like I said, when I selected tourism as a subject, my only aim was that I thought that in a year, 2 months, I get to travel. That's what my mindset. My seniors told me that okay, you select as tourism as a subject and you get to travel. I traveled also, but the reason to continue after college, because till second year or third year college also, I was not very sure that I want to proceed or work in tourism. But I did a PGDMA. I was supposed to do a PGDMA, and I did this training in Southern Travels, and that experience of traveling around gave me an inspiration to choose tourism as a career, and that to selling India. And it's been 20 years. Thank you so much. Okay, anything else? Any other question regarding tourism?
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi, sir. I'm Tanishka.
Yeah, Tanishka?
Yeah, sir. Which is the most beautiful place that you visited, and which place would you suggest for us to visit?
See, within India, if you ask, then Ladakh is a very, very excellent destination to visit. And I have been to Ladakh 14 times. Okay. I have been to Ladakh 14 times. And my favorite place is, as mentioned, that going to Pangong Lake and staying in Pangong Lake and doing a stargazing. You feel that you are, out of this world, right? Because there is a river flowing, which you can hear, you can not hear anything else because there is no electricity, which is only you have a lamp and there is no, it's nature, right? Because you don't have anything else apart from, nature. So I get to enjoy anything which is close to nature.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
No, I have not been to Canada. I will. Canada, I plan to go next year after COVID.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions, students? Any further questions for sir?
Everybody is done. Switch on the camera, please. I see many people switch off the camera again. We just.
Sir, this is Lasya again.
Yes, tell me.
You said you love place, right, sir?
Yeah.
I want to know what's your favorite play.
I love play. See, in UK, as I told you that my reason of going to UK was to enjoy the play, and Aladdin is something which I enjoyed because of the the lavish sets they have. Because in UK the plays happens where you sit in a chair and the stage keeps on moving in and around. So Aladdin was something where I felt that it was like a 3D picture. You sat and it's called Broadway actually, not play. So that's something which was out of the world. So Aladdin is still my favorite. I have seen 3 times. Every year I go. If I get a ticket, I see Aladdin for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Switch on the camera. We are, I think, at the end of the session. I think I have taken more than 1 hour, I suppose. I'm so sorry for that.
No, not at all. Please, it was a pleasure to have you on board. And I think the students really enjoyed the session. And from my side, I think it was a new dimension for the students to explore. And we have been conducting this workshop with the objective of giving them that perspective from veterans in the field, from people who have really excelled and made a mark in their profession. And I think in that list, you are definitely one among the runners. I'm happy and really thankful to both Abita ma'am and you, Abita ma'am, for having suggested your contact. It's a fantastic experience for the students. And over to Abita ma'am for any closing remarks.
Excellent. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. And your valuable insights about travel and tourism would be an eye-opener for our students. The students enjoyed a lot and got a lot of information today about travel and tourism and various options available. Lovely explanation about all the places and your experiences. It was a very interactive and engaging session. Thank you so much, Sounda.
Thank you so much, Abita, once again. And anybody who will travel post-COVID to any tourist destination, I hope you guys will remember what I said, right? You will look at that destination from those eyes of, if I have to make a career out of this tourism, then what are the places which I have to learn? Yeah, more than so go as a, apart from going as a tourist, go as a tourism professional next time when you go with your family. That's my, request. And thank you, Abita. Thank you, Aditya, once again for giving me an opportunity. I always love interacting with young India, and I keep on doing that to enhance my skills, because I get goosebumps when these kind of questions comes from students, because the generation has I would say 10x improved what we were like, in our schools. These kind of thoughts coming also was very difficult. But now with the school taking such initiative and students also giving it to it, it was a great experience. And once again, thank you so much. So we will end this session with a high five once again. Everybody, video on. Video on, and thank you so much. Okay, great. So it was a post-lunch or just a lunch session. So I was very skeptical that, okay, during 1 to 2, how energetic students will be. But everybody, I was watching through the camera, because for any presenter, anybody who's sitting across, what they react also makes a lot of difference and confidence. So thank you so much. We will end the session with a virtual high five. Just give a high five to your person next to it. Yours, yes, with the happy faces. Happy faces. Thank you so much, and wonderful doing this session. Thank you, Abita.
Thank you, Mr. Sandhya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.